Hey, good afternoon, friends. Today is Friday, September the 6th, 2024, and the time now is 2:40 p.m. So, my friends, I want to talk briefly today about the death of Uganda's Olympian. So, I am sure that as of now, the world is aware of her death and the manner in which she died. Now, this is going to be the first video for the Ugandan or the Uganda playlist. For those of you who are watching for the first time, on this channel, The Echoing Voice, each country will have two playlists. One of the playlists is going to be named the country's name. In this case, Uganda. And then the other playlist is going to be named Domestic Uganda. The Uganda playlist is going to feature videos and talks and programs that basically highlight, explore, or examine Uganda's position in international relations, Uganda's relationship or interaction with countries in Africa, in Eastern Africa, in the Central Africa region, or in the Greater Africa, and also with the rest of the world. The Domestic Uganda playlist will feature videos and talks and programs that basically highlight, explore, or examine the domestic situation or situations in Uganda. The topics of discussions for the Domestic Uganda playlist is going to include economics, infrastructure, development, farming or agriculture, food production and food distribution system, employment, government and people relations, and so on and so on and so on. However, it is very sad that the first video for the Uganda playlist is going to feature that of Rebecca Cheptegei. Now, my friends, relating to the death of Miss Rebecca Cheptegei, an Olympian and also a long-distance runner, this video, being that it is a Ugandan situation, it is supposed to be in the Domestic Uganda series or Domestic Uganda playlist. However, given Ms. Rebecca Cheptegei's influence in international relations, given her importance in the global community, she is an Olympian. She is an international figure as much as she is or she was a Ugandan figure. This is an international matter, and as a result, I am basically uploading this video onto the Uganda playlist, which means this is going to be a geopolitical video. Now, relating to the death of Miss Cheptegei, when I heard the news, when I began to research the situation and read about it, what I said to myself initially was justice. I basically said to myself that the perpetrator must be brought to justice and the perpetrator must be dealt with in public. Because I do believe in Africa and many Africans around the world, to an extent, will agree. There are situations where people in Africa are just basically harming one another. Social media, as of now and in recent times, has been seeing the proliferation of videos and photos of Africans just harming one another, basically just brutalizing one another. Whether they are saying that they are punishing this person or that person. And I feel as if they are doing this because the system on the continent has not been codified, has not been strong, and we have leadership that is just all over the place. I do feel to an extent that people need to be made example of. So when I heard about the news of Ms. Cheptegei's attack, because it happens on Sunday, initially or originally, it is said that Ms. Cheptegei's boyfriend went to her house and they got into an argument over a land or the land where she built her house, where her house is. And through the disagreement and the quarreling, he basically poured on her gasoline and lit her up. and he himself basically got caught on fire. Now, the thing here is, he brought the gasoline or the petrol to the house. So this was a premeditated murder. He planned this. He planned to do something to her before coming to the house. So as a result, he is supposed to, the fact that he planned this and the fact that he did this, he is supposed to be brought to justice. My thing is, I wanted justice to be done in public so Africans can see, so that he can be made example out of. That was my original intention. However, as I begin to look into the situation, I realized that the boyfriend and Miss Rebecca Cheptegei herself and other Africans are all victims. We have situations that need to be changed in Africa. The African people need to review their situations, their systems, and basically update, modify everything. Because that is the only way that Africa is going to improve for now and for the future. Now, Miss Rebecca Cheptegei's boyfriend, his name is Dickson Ndiema. And once again, it is said that Dickson Ndiema, the boyfriend of Rebecca Cheptegei, went to the house and they got into an altercation. They got into an altercation over land, over the land on which her house stood or stand, however. And he basically poured gasoline on her and basically lit her up. And he himself, he got caught on fire. Once again, as I said earlier, this was a premeditated murder. Yes, she just died, she had just passed, and the situation took place on Sunday. But this was premeditated because he had purchased the gasoline prior and he did what he basically intended to do. Originally, I wanted this guy to basically be punished harshly in public so that the entire Uganda and the rest of Africa can see. However, after thinking this out, I've come to realize that he himself is a victim. Now, I am not trying to be controversial here, so please forgive me if you think I am. However, if we were to go back to the murder itself, the truth here is the attack on Miss Cheptegei is basically an attack on Africa because this lady is a figure of Africa. Now, many Africans may not be a Ugandan. However, when Africans are performing on the international stage, whether that person is not from your country or whether that person is an African heritage person basically performing, okay, or competing for a European country where he or she lives or where he or she is a citizen. Africans in Africa and around the world are often happy and they demonstrate pride as a result of a black person performing at the higher level, whether for their European country or their Asian country. But the fact of them being an African, it is a pride of Africa. So Miss Cheptegei is an African hero and the attack on her, and now the murder is an attack on Africa. It is a stain on African consciousness, African pride, and African liberation. But then, the question here is, what should be done to the perpetrator and how? Why? The situation in Africa is a bad situation for all Africans because at the end of the day, a lot of people are desperate. When I begin to look into the story and learning that the situation was the result of them having an altercation over land. Yes, of course, this guy, Dickson Ndiema, is a murderer. And the attack itself, as well as the murder itself, was brutal and was an attack on Africa, on the consciousness, the pride, and the liberation of Africa. However, we Africans at home in Africa and abroad must also come to acknowledge the fact that land dispute in Africa, and it is only sad that the situation, I remember it used to be a problem even in the 90s and early thousands, okay, early 2000, used to be a problem and a big issue. The fact that it continues, it shows that Africa continues to lag behind in progress. And this thing needs to stop. It needs to be reversed. When I began to look into the matter, one question that came to mind was, who owned the land for which they were quarreling or having a dispute, a disagreement about? Why did the boyfriend went as far as premeditating a murder? Okay, the murdering of his ex-girlfriend. And also, what is the situation in Uganda in terms of the reality of land ownership, land distribution, and land protection in the country? Because in many parts of Africa, land protection is a problem. People are buying land all over the place, and people are selling people's land. People are unable to protect their land. And it seems as if there are governments that just do not do any work, or they exacerbate the problem. They add to the problem, whether due to neglect, whether due to selfishness, or just plain flat out corruption. That is the situation. But in terms of the murder, excluding the dispute or the land, the fact that this man went as far as murdering his ex-girlfriend in this manner. And these guys are young people. Africa today, yes, many people are still in the villages, in the far remote areas. But these guys are progressive people, young people in a globalized world. The fact that this man was thinking in that manner, I think governments in Africa need to begin to work out plan to, I won't say socialize because it might come out wrong, but to nationalize, change the perspective, the perception of their people. Okay? Try to have their people think in more positive or forgiving way, not just thinking or acting based on impulse, but being rational, being empathetic, being respectful, okay, showing solidarity, and so on. Now, Miss Cheptegei's family, her father, is calling for justice, and justice should be served. As I said many times now, initially, I wanted Mr. Dickson, okay, Ndiema to be punished in public, to be made example of. But that should not be the case. Yes, he committed a brutal murder. He basically disrespected Africa. He attacked Africa. Okay, he attacked a pride, a pearl of Africa. He should be dealt with accordingly. However, he should not be dealt with in a manner to disrespect or to humiliate his family. He should be dealt with accordingly based on his crime, and he alone should suffer the consequences, but should not be dealt with in a manner that basically brought down disrespect and humiliation to his family. And perhaps the people in the country and elders can basically mediate between both families to try to have bygone be bygone. Yes, a stupid son did something stupid to a lovely child, a lovely daughter. But have my sympathy. Please forgive us. And hopefully the two family can move on. So that is what we need in Africa. We need compassion. We need forgiveness. Now, for the family of Miss Cheptegei, I'm sure this is a lot for them to deal with. They are going through a lot. Nobody wants to lose a child, especially a child age 33. Okay? She means a lot to them, especially a child that great, okay? An icon, a national and an international icon. This is a big loss for the family. But now, in terms of the situation and the ex-boyfriend, Dickson Ndiema, this guy, I think everyone must treat him with compassion, because the fact that he sunk so low is something that is happening in Africa. Okay, something was brewing in this guy, whether it was jealousy, okay, plain flat out jealousy, or some psychological or emotional situation. This is evident that the leadership of Africa needs to impart change into the masses, into society, because people are acting upon impulse and they are doing terrible things to one another. Okay? For this guy, I'm not sure what his situation was in terms of his employment or other things. But once again, the fact that he went out to buy petrol or gasoline or kerosene or whatever it is and went to the ex-girlfriend's house, got into an argument with her, and basically lit her up. Yes, she died about a few days later, but still, that is a horrible thing to do and a horrible act upon someone, especially someone with whom you are intimate or with whom you may have been intimate. And in this case, I think it does bear our exploration of the idea that as people, sometimes it is good to just let go. Whatever dispute you may have, just let it go. Do not take it to the point where you have to act upon impulse and causing harm on somebody and even yourself, okay, unto yourself, because for Dickson Ndiema, he himself got burned. Yes, it is said that he is seeking treatment. So I guess upon completion of the treatment, if he survives, he is going to be dealt with accordingly. Whether he's going to be charged for murder and whatever the case, whatever penalty they are going to rain down on him, no one knows. But the fact that, once again, he planned a murder and he carried out the murder, he should be dealt with. However, even as the consequences are being given to him, he must still be treated with compassion. Now, my friends, I am going to end here. Please tell me what you think, and I really want to hear what you think. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, but most importantly, I want to thank you a lot, my friends, for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace.